far away. But when I first heard it, Brownie, I thought that's the end of the premiership run.
Concerning news for me, for GWS. A lot of questions need to be asked now. And ironically, the salary cap issue started with Jeremy Cameron a few years back when they've probably had to start overpaying players, and now he wants out, and probably for a number of reasons. But at the end of the day, if he believed in the football club, I'm speaking about GWS here, Jeremy Cameron wouldn't be wanting out of the Giants Football Club. So that's a massive concern for the Giants, and one they've got to approach going forward, Rui.
The rich get richer, boys. You could almost hear the collective sighs around the competition. Not again. Tom Lynch last year going to team coming off a premiership, Richmond, and now Jeremy Cameron nominating a grand final.
It's put the focus squarely on free agents.
It has, and if you're coming from the players' point of view, it's working, absolutely, because there is that freedom to be able to go to a top club. But I'm not sure that's what the AFL thought would be eventuate when they brought it in, Gaz.
That's the incumbency to get your club right, isn't it? I mean, which is easier said than done. I know there'll be clubs sitting at home saying, oh, good on you, that's an easy job, but you've got to get your house in order. And the Geelong Footy Club are preparing for a grand final with the reigning Coleman medalists, and they're about to add the one they won the year before. It's an awesome get by Geelong. I mean, Brownie's concerns for GWS are well founded. It's an unbelievable win for the Geelong Footy Club. It's
particularly
a great club.
If Sean Higgins turns up as well. I spoke to Dave Matthews on 3RW tonight, and I began by asking him if the Giants are now out of the premiership window.
Yeah, I think we are. I mean, I still think it's probably more restructure than rebuild. I think our list strategy has been smart, and we've generally shown a good track record of being able to retain the talent we've got. And Jeremy leaves, it provides opportunity for others, and I think it's more of a restructure. I think our list strategy is pretty sustainable.
When did you speak to him? How long ago? Was it 2 months? Was it 12 months? 3 weeks? What can you give us a dateline?
I'm going to say in the last month or so, 6 weeks, somewhere around there. We've had an interest in Jeremy for a long time, probably from the day he was eligible to play AFL footy. But at least in our process, I'm quite late to the party when it comes to those discussions. It's only when there is a really tangible possibility that the players might move and they actually request that they want to speak to the coach, as I think they should.
It's amazing what the omission of one word can do to an answer. I asked him if he still thought he was in the premiership window, and Chris Scott, obviously with plenty on his mind, but he secretly and privately would be absolutely thrilled.
The timing's interesting. I mean, we've all been asking about Jeremy Cameron. He's been putting it off. No answer. I thought he could have waited another week. I thought that was really interesting.
Well, Brian Cook didn't wait. Brian Cook went big on the weekend, and he put it on the agenda, and once it's on the agenda, I think...
everyone would have left him alone this week, given that Geelong are in a grand final, and say, well, he's not going to make a decision while the Cats are in the hunt. But anyway, he's done it. And
the Giants have something to do with that. To flush the news out.
Force his hand, you reckon? Yeah, they got no favour. They don't know Geelong any favours, so they don't care when it comes out.
No, so then they want a big hand from Geelong. Yeah. They've still got to work with them.
It comes down to the bartering game right now, and we can cross up to Queensland where Tom Morris is with us with the latest. Welcome to you, Tom, in grand final week, or is it Jeremy Cameron week?
Oh, at the moment, it's Jeremy Cameron week. This was the big news of the day, Jared. Evening to you guys. The deal at Geelong, I'm told, is worth $850,000 a year. It's a long-term deal. And I know Dave Matthews spoke to you on Sports Day, Jared, about the need to get a trade deal done if indeed the Giants match the bid, which we expect them to do. But there's absolutely no doubt in my mind that there will be players involved in this deal as well. At least that's what the Giants want. So the Cats have picks 11, 13 and 18. And although they might ask for one of those picks, the Giants, they will want players as well. You've got to think about Brandon Parfitt, think about Asava Radigalea, who's out of contract, think Sam Simpson, who's out of contract, and don't discount them asking for Jordan Clark as well, who has 2 years left on his deal and wants to play senior footy. So players, not just draft picks, will get this deal done. And what we know is often when there's players involved, those are the hardest deals to orchestrate. This is presuming the Giants do match the bid, which we fully expect them to do.
Cats have been a great club, Tommy. They haven't overpaid throughout their journey. They've kept their list together through all that premiership period. 850 is good wedge, given that the salary cap's coming back 20%. It'd put him in the top 2 or 3 paid players at that footy club.
Yeah, absolutely. Patrick Dangerfield up there as well. I think probably the thing about the Geelong Football Club that might separate them from many others is they're not overpaying guys who are in the reserves or not paying people 1.2 or 1.3. So they have salary cap room. We know they're into Joe Danaher. We know they like Isaac Smith. They've offered him a 2-year deal. They like Sean Higgins as well. Brad Crouch. So they've got many more irons in the fire. And Jeremy Cameron, well, he's a great first domino to fall.
What are you hearing, Tommy, regarding the reason for the decision to get out of the Giants?
Yeah, well, Alex McDonald spoke to Sam Edmund tonight on SEN, and what he said was that it was a family-based decision. He's been away from home, and Alex McDonald, of course, is Jeremy Cameron's manager. He said that Cameron's been away from home for 10 years. He'd like to move back to Victoria. Now, Collingwood was in the hunt in terms of they were offering a long-term deal and probably more, in fact, definitely more money than what Geelong were offering. But my information from the very start was Cameron wasn't really keen to live in Melbourne. He wanted to live in a place that wasn't necessarily a football bubble like Melbourne or Adelaide, and that's why it was Geelong or GWS. So the reasons, according to his management, are family, but as you said before, guys, I think he wouldn't be leaving the Giants if he thought the club was going in the right direction.
Appreciate your time, Tom, and have a great grand final week up in Queensland. Let's get down to business, though. The question is this the end of the reign? And does Josh Kelly all of a sudden decide next year to take up his option and move?
It's an enormous loss. So Finlayson and Himmelberg have been the two there. So all of a sudden you're going, are they two key forwards that can take you to a premiership?
I think Himmelberg was probably planned for centre-half back next year, given Phil Davis.
Yeah. And so you ask that question, if they're in the premiership window, if that's what you want to call it, you can make the case while he's still there. I mean, I don't know if Himmelberg and Finlayson are your keys in the premiership team.
Absolutely not. Yeah, the problem is for the Giants, they've been gradually sliding talent-wise for the best part of 4 years. I think their absolute maximum we saw them at was 2016 when, you know, with respect to the Bulldogs, they probably should have won it that year. I think they've been on a gradual slide talent-wise since then, Jared. So, and obviously this just further compounds it. Phil Davis is at the end of his career, they'll lose their full back. They're obviously now going to lose their full forward, centre-half forward. There's big concerns for me. I'm a little bit worried about the Giants.
The wording of the press release from the Giants was interesting, saying they tabled what they considered a suitable offer. So, I mean, could we interpret this as a shift in philosophy that they're not going to go down the path of overpaying their stars anymore?
Because they can't.
Because they're tapped out?
Well,
I mean, that could absolutely be the reason.
Kelly,
or they might have come to a critical juncture where they said, you know what, we can't keep going down this path.
But this was always going to be the case, wasn't it? Once free agency came in and they were ill-equipped to pay overs, then all of a sudden it was, OK, do you absolutely want to stay at this football club? And the lure of going home and going south is a strong one.
I think that it's a really interesting question, though, that you pose, Rui. Philosophically, I always thought that in the northern clubs you had to overpay. Until we've seen what the Brisbane Lions have done the last 2 or 3 years. They've got their salary cap in order. They don't overpay now. Culturally, they're in a really good spot, and our players want to go and play there for fair money or maybe slightly unders. So you can liken GWS's situation, you either live in Sydney or in Brisbane, to the Brisbane Lions. So maybe they are making that shift. Maybe they are looking at the Lions and saying, well, hang on a minute. The Lions sort of drew the line in the sand and said, no, we're sick of player managers coming to us and say we want 20% more than what you would get for fair value at a Melbourne club, for example.
Culturally, you can use that as a reference point going forward. So when the next bloke comes, it's, hey, well, we didn't cave to Jeremy Cameron, so we're not going to cave to you.
The next decision might be, can they get into the draft early? There's two big key forwards, one from West Australia, one from South Australia, that are going to go very, very early. So maybe they go, OK, if we can parcel up some of this, can we get in early and maybe start from that one?
And hopefully Riccardi continues to develop. But from one club in trouble to one that's in deep crisis.